morning. It's a Monday.
Is it?
I don't like that. Hey, before we get too far, I want to let people know I have an interview coming out this evening on the podcast. I Thought I Knew How. You can find it here on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Just search for I Thought I Knew How. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because one of my British Yarn Explorers yarns was Lonk Yarn, and I got all excited about it. And because of the Project Lonk project, well, I have them back on the show to talk about what happened since the Kickstarter was funded.
Right.
And I don't want to get too much into it here because I think it sounds better coming from their own mouths, you know?
Yeah.
But like, it sounds like because of this, there's some changes coming in how the British Wool Board functions, which is incredible news. So have a listen. I don't know if anyone knows what the British Wool Board is even, but in England or in the UK, when you sell your clip, your fleece is on, you're supposed to send it to the wool board, and then the wool board takes it and they handle auctioning it off to whoever needs it.
Okay.
But basically what they've been doing is they just sort of grade it by quality of the fleece. And so it doesn't matter what the breed is, if it's within certain micron counts and has a certain amount of vegetable matter or not vegetable matter, it just goes into that certain bin.
Okay.
So you lose the qualities of the individual breeds that way. It just all gets blended together.
Right.
But there's some changes in the works. There's a new CEO and he's very interested in how Project Lonk is functioning and wants to help them with that. And hopefully that'll help some other people too. So have a listen. It won't be out till 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So look for it tomorrow too.
All right.
Anyway.
All of Anne's links are down below.
Yeah. But I'm so impressed by that. I wanted to make sure that people know about them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Cool. So tell me about the show you binge watched.
So this morning I got up and watched a whole series on Netflix. And I wasn't even up that early. I mean, I got up, I was on the exercise bike at 6:30 and that's when I watched it. And when I started watching it, and it's only 4 episodes. So like while I was getting ready and having breakfast and stuff, I was just watching it. It's called Maid, M-A-I-D, like a housemaid.
Okay.
And it's this woman and her daughter leave the father because he is emotionally abusive.
Okay.
And then you follow like the first week and a half. It's only like 10 days now that I think about it. You think of you follow the first 10 days of what that's like for them.
Right.
And what they have to go through. And like at first she doesn't want to take help from anyone. She's trying to do it all on her own. And then she finally accepts help and things get better. But there's like a whole lot of like better and worse. And how's this going to work?
But obviously it sucked you in if you binged 4 episodes in a morning.
Yeah. And it was really like, whew.
It was, so you were on an emotional roller coaster already.
Yes.
Way to start your day.
Way to start my day. But it's really, it was so well done. And I think,
interesting.
I think it was done in a way that if you are someone who is dealing with abuse and trying to figure out like how it works to get away, I think it's almost like a step-by-step, like this is what you can expect and what you should be ready to do. And there is help there, and there, you know, like do it. It's hard, but do it. Get the help.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now I'm going to go look for that.
Yeah. It's on Netflix. It's just 4 episodes. Yeah. How about you?
I got, I've kind of been saving this. I haven't yet watched season 6 of Shetland. I've kind of been saving it. So I'm going to do that. And then also I started watching Vera, and I started watching it. Vera. I started watching it from the beginning. So I'm only on like season 4 or something because
you're so lucky.
You know what I mean? Because but my memory is like crap. So I could watch the whole thing and then like 2 years from now, go back and watch it again and be like, oh yeah, I don't remember that.
I probably could at this point too. It's such a good series. And like, I'm saying you're lucky because you have so much ahead of you still. Like I've watched them all already and I'm like, man, That's one I check every now and then. Are there new episodes yet? I don't know if they're still making Vera, but that's a good one.
I don't know. I finally paid for the extra Amazon channels for Acorn and BBC because I really like the British cop shows, you know?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, we get BritBox and Acorn.
Well, I think I have BritBox too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it is BritBox and Acorn that I purchased.
Yeah. So Shetland's, the last episode of season 6 went live just earlier this week. And I saw it, and this season was a slow burn for me. I was like, sort of half watching some episodes, but the last couple episodes, pretty good.
Okay. But I like Vera because, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like Shetland. I do. But I like Vera because I can identify with her like cranky frumpiness. You know what I mean? I love her. Vera when I grow up.
And it's the same author. They're both Anne Cleeve's book series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Vera because she's like I can identify with she's just grumpy and frumpy and but she's brilliant,
Right. Yeah. I love her. Like everyone underestimates her, new characters come on and they're like, rah, whatever. And then she like puts them in their place and
you gotta love that. So if anybody has show recommendations, I'm always up for show recommendations. Yeah, absolutely. I really like the British ones. Another really good British one that I was totally hooked on was called Unforgotten. Did you watch that?
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I think the star of that is Nicola Walker. Is that her name? But that was really good, really, really good. And the premise of it is they have these cold cases. And so they're, the victim is unforgotten and they have these cold cases. Yes. And then I recognize her partner. I can't pronounce his name, but you'll recognize him. If you watch British shows at all, you'll recognize him. But I couldn't pronounce his name.
Oh yeah, What's
his name? Can you try it?
Doctor. There was a series called The Indian Doctor and he was a doctor from India, the Indian doctor, who in like the 50s moved with his family to the UK and became like a small town doctor. And it was sort of like the prejudice and everything they had to deal with, but it was also kind of a comedy. I'm trying to remember actually if it was a comedy.
I can't pronounce
it. It wasn't like a ha-ha comedy. It was like a dramedy. Okay.
Brilliant.
Let me see if I can find it. They're telling me the names of the murder victims, but not the names. Okay, cast. There we go. Sanjeev Bhaskar. Sanjeev Bhaskar.
Okay.
And I think he was the one who played, the Indian doctor.
Okay.
Yep. And Unforgotten.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious me. And the Kumars at number 42.
So Unforgotten is a really good series. If you haven't seen that, it's pretty dramatic. I mean, it's definitely not something my kids should watch.
Yeah.
But it's binge worthy, I think. There's a lot of things that she's been in. Nicola Walker, I love her as an actress. There's a bunch of things that she's been in that I really like.
Yeah.
So she's good.
She's good. Yeah, I see her in a lot of stuff. She is good.
Did I tell you? I can't remember who I was telling about the one that's called Astrid.
That one is new to me.
Astrid. It's the name. It's her name. So Astrid, maybe we're talking about it at Knit Night, Patron Knit Night. So Astrid is this young woman who works at a police department, and she is autistic, and she works in the records department, the records, so she can just be in the stacks with all the boxes and she scans documents, right? But she has this uncanny photographic memory. Like she remembers all the things that she reads and scans. So then the detective who works in the same building, she encounters her, because she needs some files or needs something for a case she's working on. And she realizes that Astrid has this uncanny ability to remember all these things. So she starts having Astrid help her on cases and actually go out of the building and go on scene and stuff and go to interviews, because Astrid can remember like discrepancies from people telling her things. And anyway, but she's autistic and she doesn't do well in these social situations, and she doesn't really have the social graces that might be needed in a suspect interview. So it's a really interesting show, but you need to have like, like straight up round and round knitting or something easy, because it's
in French.
It's in French with English subtitles.
Right.
But it's fascinating.
So it's here. When I did a search for it, it came up in the PBS Masterpiece add-on for Amazon Prime.
There you go.
So that's how you can find it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's super interesting if you have the PBS, which we do, because I wanted to watch All Creatures Great and Small. Yeah.
I loved that series.
I think, isn't season 2 of that coming out as well?
Oh, I hope so. I haven't heard anything about it. I hope so.
Yeah. Right.
I really love that.
Yeah. Well,
and not just for the knitwear. I enjoyed the stories too. And the house they lived in.
All that.
My daughter and I were watching it and we're like, how do we get that house?
And I really like, why am I blanking on her name? The housekeeper.
Yes.
She has, I feel like in the series on PBS, she has more of a principal role than maybe she did in the books. And I like that.
Yeah. I'm trying, like.
Why am I blanking on her name?
I know, because I think I just saw her in something else too.
Oh, so that's throwing you off. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a different actress. But that did remind me that I saw another series earlier this week called Traders.
Oh.
I actually watched a lot of it on the airplane coming back. And I'd seen it advertised on, I think it's a Netflix show. They always put it up as something you might like. And I did. Again, not a kid-friendly show, but it's World War II's over. And the different governments are sort of like, well, what do we do now kind of thing with all their spies and everything. Right. And so there's this lady who is a British woman, and she was training to be a spy, and she never got to be a spy because the war ended. And she's dating an American GI who is actually in the American spy network. And so he goes to his boss and is like, hey, it's a shame to let her skills go to waste. Why don't you take her on and use her to keep an eye on the British government? So he brings her in, and then it's like all intrigue and chaos.
Okay. Oh, I would like that. I probably like that.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
All right. Shall we open day 20?
Yeah. Where did I put it? I put it over here. I'm almost done with my couple days
ago.
Yeah,
we were going to have the chicken report.
Let's save it for the end, because I might actually get to the end of my yarn. Oh, ooh, look at that.
Oh, wow.
I feel like My Little Ponies. Reds and pinks and blues. Look how fun that is.
Yeah.
No idea. Can't even hazard a guess.
Not even going to try it.
Not even going to try. Lindsay broke me. I really like that one though.
And thank you. No, I'm lying. Now I have the My Little Pony theme song in my head. That will last the rest of the day.
Well, My Little Ponies feature in the Maid show that I just watched. So I have My Little Ponies on the mind.
Oh, I guess it's me. I was about to finish my row. I'm just knitting along, singing My Little Pony in my head. Okay, day 20, Girl in a Wool. Oh, we're definitely getting rosier.
Ooh,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That is very.
That's lovely. Next to day 19. And let me find 18 here. Yep. Look at that. 18, 19, 20.
Beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
I love that. So many fun fade projects out there. How are you going to decide which one?
I don't know. I don't know.
Stress. How many yards are you going to have in all? Did we figure that out the other day?
No, let's do that. Let's see. Each one of these is 92 yards times 24. I don't even have my phone with me. Let's do it old school.
So about 2,000 yards.
92 times 24. I can do this. Really, I can.
Oh no, 480 minus 24.
24. 2208.
3208. Yeah. That's a lot. You can get a sweater. Could you get a sweater? It's fingering weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can totally do a sweater.
I kind of want to make like a fade, like a swan show fade.
You can do a swan show fade and then pick up the fade at the top of the socks and work them down to your toes.
Knit myself some leggings.
That's right. My mom once knit a sweater for a young man she knew and then knit matching socks as well. And he was showing them to his friend and he like showed the sweater and then he pulled up his pant legs to show the socks. And the guy was like, that is the longest sweater I've ever seen. And then like walked away.
Awesome. That's awesome. Tell us about your British yarn today.
Okay. Oh, I'm so close. Like I have like 6 inches left on this. So close.
Okay. Well, do you want me to go? I could go.
No. We have a pattern, Jana.
Don't disrupt the pattern.
Don't disrupt the pattern. Okay. So
All
no,
right.
ooh. It is, it's Carrie Hill and she drew a little sherry for Santa.
Nice.
Carrie Hill yarn. And look,
Ooh,
isn't that pretty?
it is.
So it's dyed with eucalyptus by Alex Late of Late Night Knits. So Carrie Hill 4-ply, which is still a 2-ply, but it's fingering weight. Grown in Lincolnshire, naturally dyed with eucalyptus, sourced from Halifax Spinning Mill. Welsh Hill breed originating from the Welsh borders. This sheep with black markings on the eyes and nose and pointy up ears. White or cream colored yarn takes up dye well with great coverage. This yarn is slightly hairy, but soft with it. Feels hard wearing and may work well for socks and cardigans. Has a nice amount of drape. Staple of 6 to 12 centimeters.
Okay.
Here's another look at that.
Nice.
Little friend of yarn. I'm surprised that's the shade that eucalyptus comes up with. Because that's such a lovely green leaf, but the world is a world of wonders.
Right.
Especially with natural dyeing. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
What different colors end up being.
Okay.
All right.
So day 20, we begin now with Crater Lake
Oh yeah,
National Park.
Today.
Crater Lake National Park. And this one is from Chrysalis Yarn.
Right.
Okay. And on the back, it says Atkins Sock Mini 75, 25, 92 yards. Okay. Let me see where the sticker ends here. This is a little bit. Wow. Wow.
Whoa. That's fun.
Wow. Look at that.
That's really pretty. Vibrant.
Yeah.
Very vibrant.
Ooh, there's a lot going on there from this dark navy to look at that.
Like peach. That middle bit.
No,
Or is it
it's kind of like a creamsicle. right
Okay.
there. Wow. That's a party. Ooh, that'll be fun. I'm going to leave that here so we see what the 3 national park, for Crater look like.
Yeah.
All right, we having chicken report?
Chicken report. So this is from 2 days ago, guys, because we're pre-recording.
Okay.
So there we are. So that's how much I have left.
Okay.
And I have this much left. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to find, I don't know. I'm going to find one of my little tail ends. Let's see, this one might work.
Oh, to add in, yeah.
Yeah, it's got different amounts of the browns and grays, but for just that little bit, that should be okay.
Yeah.
And I'll finish that off and then I will start in with.
And will that be 11 rows or 12 ridges?
Oh, right. Sorry, forgot to count. And this one's kind of hard because the browns from here are the same as the browns from here. So it's hard to see where it starts. I got to count on this side too.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that'll be 12 ridges this time.
Oh. Okay.
So it's just barely shy of 12
Okay.
ridges.
Okay.
Flex.
Awesome. So today's interview is actually with Chrysalis Yarns. So we'll get right to that.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
We are happy to welcome Mindy from Chrysalis Yarns onto the podcast today. Welcome. I love your sweater. Of course, it's purple, so I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, are you a fan of purple? I'm a huge fan of purple. I have a purple problem, is what they call they tell me. Yeah.
So welcome. I'm so glad you were able to
Thank
join
you.
us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Mindy, to start with, can you tell us how you got into hand dyeing?
That is a great question. And I wish I had a fantastic origin story that was really cute, but my local yarn shop was closing and I panicked. So I started dyeing yarn. I was so committed to my local yarn shop that I bought my house a mile from where they were located.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
serious commitment.
I mean, my local yarn shop was called Holly's Yarn Shop, and I loved it, and I would be in there all the time. I was really close with everyone who worked there, and Susan, the owner, is still a good friend of mine, and we meet for coffee and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it had a long run.
Yeah.
She wanted to retire, so I started dyeing yarn, and then I thought, well, I might as well share it because it's getting a little bit too big of a stash. And once you start dyeing yarn, it's really addictive and you can't stop. So
there are a lot of indie dyers out there, and
new ones every day.
Yeah. And so part of I think the way I found you was through this, National Parks Countdown calendar.
Yeah.
Because I
was really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I hadn't run across your shop before.
Well, I'm still really new and I'm still building it up.
Yeah, that's great though. So what would you tell viewers is unique about your shop?
That question trips me up.
Okay.
I will say that I dye a lot of different fiber blends.
Oh, okay.
And I specialize in silks. So anything that's got a silk or a nylon content is great to me. I love silk. That's kind of why Chrysalis is the name.
Right.
I'm a big fan.
Makes sense.
Well, we have like 20 different bases or more. I dye a lot.
Yeah. So you have a lot of silk that you work with, which I think is pretty rare. I think a lot of people sort of go merino and stick with merino, so that's great.
Most of what I have is a merino blend, but I do have one pure silk, and I mean, if it's got silk in it, I'm down. So.
You're down with that. I'm down with that too. I'm going to poke around some more when we're done with this. So do you have like a favorite color scheme or colorway that you prefer to work with? Is it purple? It's purple, Jana.
I do. I work with a lot of purple. And I try to move away from that because it's just my comfort zone is going to be purple and teal. And anytime I'm just playing to kind of reset my creativity, it ends up being purple, teal, and pink. I go, how did I dye the exact same thing again? And I'll try an entirely new way of doing it and new colors, and it'll look the same because I guess my brain just enjoys that. So I try really hard to fill out the palette as I'm going. As I build a colorway collection, I will force myself to do more oranges and go into blues are really popular. And my most popular colorway is called Rare Books. And that thing, I can't keep it stocked. It's a green, and everyone who finds that colorway kind of goes, I'm not a green person, but this is beautiful. And I don't know what it is about that specific one, but I feel like a one-trick pony because that is the one everyone loves. And it's a green.
Well, you have it here. It's the first one on your website too. And when I pulled up your website for the first time, I was like, ooh, that is lovely.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many different tones of green in it. It's not a flat green. It's a very
oh my goodness,
living green.
Rare Books has about, I think, 9 or 10 layers of color.
Wow.
And it is so many different greens and browns and some yellows that pull in. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to dye.
I bet. Yeah. Is there a story behind the name?
Oh yeah. So last winter, my colorway collection was the Posy collection. And this was part of it. And I was inspired by some of my first editions that seem to have these brown and green hardcovers. I've lost the dust jackets for them, but that's the color on the hardcover itself. Particularly this first edition of Emily Dickinson's poems. So I use that in the first photos of that colorway as well. I've had that book since I was 13 years old, which is ironically the same age that I learned to knit as well. So there's this connection there. But it was, so it was part of the Posy collection. I didn't want to name it something ridiculous from an Emily Dickinson poem. I wanted to keep it kind of simple, but and hardcover books didn't really roll off the tongue the same way Rare Books did.
Right. Yeah, but that makes sense. That's awesome.
Another popular one from that collection was Keats, which was inspired by a line from my favorite Keats poem, Ode to a Nightingale.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's okay. My daughter's in AP literature and she just read that and did they just did their analysis.
No problem. I started out as a poet.
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of why I got into dyeing in the first place. Is I was writing my manuscript, and I would find that I would write for about 10 minutes, and then I would be knitting. So I'm like, okay, clearly my brain wants to do this, and my heart is there. It's not in poetry. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to do this business and see how that goes. That's why the Posy collection was so close to me. I tried to pull some of my classics and also contemporaries that I really love or people I've worked with in my degree program.
So did you finish your degree?
I didn't. I did not. I did not know I was autistic when I went to school. And they didn't have a lot of support for me in the Office of Disabilities because they had misdiagnosed me with ADHD. And so the specific help for ADHD was not helpful for me.
Right.
Not to mention back then, because I'm old, they didn't recognize dyscalculia as a disability or as part of autism. So I have dyslexia, but I also have dyscalculia, which is like dyslexia for numbers. So I was not ever able to pass maths. And because of that, it was sort of gatekeeping to the rest of my degree program, because that's a core that you have to, here in the US. In the United States, that's how college and bachelor's degrees are set up. I went to high school abroad, so most of my peers went off to other universities and they don't have the same requirements, and I kind of am kicking myself that I came here. But anyway.
Yeah. Were you in the British, like a British style, where you have the last 2 years of high school are actually focused on?
So I did the International Baccalaureate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah.
Most of my schooling abroad was at British schools. It was a better education system, and though they wouldn't have recognized autism in women or in girls, the classes were smaller, there was more focus on students, and it allowed me to get more out of my education than when I went to American public school or American private school.
So Mindy, you have been open in the interview and also on your website about being a maker with autism. And I want to thank you for that, actually, because I have family members with varying degrees of autism. And so I'm always appreciative of people who are open about it. But I'm curious if you've noticed some ways that your autism has sort of affected your creative process.
So you did email me these questions earlier in the day, and I read them going, oh.
And that's okay.
I do not find my autism to be helpful in the creativity at all. It's more of a hindrance, I would say. It is very difficult because I struggle with that executive dysfunction, to be able to organize and keep. I mean, I guess if I was just doing it creatively, well, I've mentioned it would be purple, teal, and pink every time. That's what my brain wants to do. And so I have to constantly be checking myself and bring in my dad's help, who's neurotypical, to organize that executive functioning and to make the plans and to figure out what bases I'm going to dye next and what colorways to keep the inventory sort of, figure out what's low in stock, what's selling really well, what I should dye up. It's a challenge.
So let me jump in for a second, just because I'm super ignorant. I mean, I don't mind admitting my own ignorance. I have, so when you say neurotypical, like your father's neurotypical, that just means what it says, neurotypical. So
normal,
like, regular, everyday.
Yeah.
Like your brain functions like
doesn't have a kind of divergence in, so when we talk about autism or ADHD or OCD, it's different than having mental illness, because it's the way your brain is wired, versus like a chemical problem, like with depression, that's more of a symptom. So it's like areas of the brain and connections that you would have in a normal brain are in different parts and work differently in a neurodivergent brain. And one of the main aspects that research is coming through with is that, particularly in autism, there's an overproduction or an underproduction of myelin on your nerves in your central nervous system. So that's where you get that overstimulation or understimulation. And there's just all these mechanics to the neurodivergence that we're exploring in research. So it's fascinating, but then I'm learning the lingo myself. I know my mother and my brother are autistic, and I've known that my whole life, but it's news to me that I am. And in discovering and in exploring my son's autism, I was curious. I took a sort of self-diagnostic and realized, oh, I'm off the charts. Okay. But the presentation is so different because I'm a woman and I was a girl, and than it is with boys. So it's just over this next generation, we've got so much more information. Girls with autism will have more of an opportunity to be diagnosed, whereas, my mother and I slipped through the cracks. And that's hard.
Yeah. And you were in college and didn't have the support you needed because of it.
Yeah, but so I had to get creative and figure a way. I started a business with my dad when I was 20. And we worked on that, and I worked on my poetry, and then I came into this, and it's going really well. So I like to emphasize that traditional college and higher education isn't structured for neurodivergence. And so like my niece and my nephew, who may be neurodivergent as well, they may not end up going to college, or they may not pass college. And that's just something we're going to like know off the bat. And if you don't want to go to college, we're not going to push you. You could go to an art school. You could start a business.
Yeah,
There
there's
are
lots
options for sure.
of options. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think we definitely push more people to college than we should be anyway, you know, because there are so many people who would do better in, as you say, in art schools, trade schools,
Yeah.
just
And
entrepreneurial.
they don't fit in that little box, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got teenagers. I'm dealing with this right now too. So
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you see coming up for your business in the new year?
I love that question. We are working on more words. This is actually a presentation of autism when your brain just like decides you don't have words.
Yeah. When my girls were little, when my oldest daughter was little, she would just get this blank look and she would say, I lost my words. You know,
It is a communication divergence.
Mhm.
So anyway,
That's okay. Yeah.
stockists, wholesale accounts. That's it. That's the words. So we're actually participating with India Entangled for their sort of industry wholesale show that they're doing, well, in part with this big company in Chicago next year. And we're going to just try to get in as many shops as we can and push more colorway collections, work on expanding. We ran an ad in Pom Pom Quarterly for the winter issue
Nice.
this winter. We have a schedule for next spring and a couple more during, so we'll be in Pom Pom Quarterly with some different ad artwork, and then just keep on keeping on. We do the Dallas Farmers Market every weekend. That's a lot of fun, and it's great seeing all of these people who are visiting, tourists who come in, because it is a fantastic farmers market.
Mhm.
It reminds me a lot of Seattle's. I mean, not quite as good because Seattle's like Pike Place Market is so walkable. There's so many things around there. Dallas is working on that. We're really new. But the Dallas Farmers Market is fantastic, and it's got that same sort of feel. And there's a lot of crafts and local artisans. There's all the farmers, of course, and the different food vendors. So it's always fun every weekend, and we love being there. And we love having our regulars who are local. They'll come and they'll just shop. They'll like show up and be like, I need this. So it gives me like a physical location, a sort of pop-up shop that everybody knows they can count on me to be there. We're hoping to continue that next year too.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun. So where can people find you then? I mean, in the summertime, you're at the farmer's market, right?
We're at the farmer's market year round. So we started in July.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Oh, it is Dallas. Yeah, it's not cold. It doesn't snow there, really. Well, hopefully not.
It did last year. And we took advantage of it. I mean, okay. So most of the state had a very tragic power situation during that storm. So I shouldn't be gloating about it. We were lucky. We like shut off all of the power that we could to help with the grid. Right. But we're on the same grid as 4 hospitals. So we maintained. At least I mean, it was always a panic as to whether or not they were gonna shut us off, but it did take a little bit of pressure, and we kept everything low. But I mean, like, it's a knitter in Texas's dream, like, especially when you've got mountains of wool. I'm like, kiddo, you're wearing wool. Everybody, wool. Yeah. We went out. It was the first time in probably a decade that I've seen snow here. Wow. We built a snowman. We had snowball fights. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, not a regular thing. Not something we expect every year.
But you're at the market year round, right?
It's boiling in the summer, but we're there selling wool, which seems stupid.
But then your website will link down below, and then you're on various social media. So the reason, actually, my dad brought this up earlier today
he said, sometimes it's Chrysalis Yarns and sometimes it's Chrysalis Yarn Co. Is that a mistake? And I said, no. ChrysalisYarnCo.com didn't really sound right. So it's ChrysalisYarns.com and ChrysalisYarns@gmail.com is my contact and my website. And then all of my social media is Chrysalis Yarn Co.
I see. Okay.
Which can be confusing.
Fantastic. So we like to talk about what we're wearing. So tell us about the yarn that yes, tell us about that.
So this is the No Frills by Petite Knit, using my Atkins sock, which is a 75% merino, 25% nylon. It's a great sock blend, 4-ply with a sturdy twist, so you can use it as a sock yarn. You can use it, as a fingering weight yarn in any project. That high nylon and those 4-plies are going to make it so that it pills very, very little. And then it's held double with kid silk, which I call Comstock Kid Silk, because when I structured this business, I went a little neurodivergent, and I went like full into my special interests, one of which is women in science. So the names were it was a little overloading, I think, for customers. But anyway, so this is Comstock Kid Silk and Atkins sock held together. Atkins sock is the solid color, which is lupine, and Kid Silk is the variegated, which is tanzanite, and that's something I bring back pretty regularly. So it's just
beautiful.
It looks so
my favorite colors.
Squishy. It looks really soft. Yeah.
If I have to choose for a project, I'm probably going to combine with Kid Silk. I love that fuzz. Makes it kind of hard to wear in Texas.
You just crank up the air conditioning.
Yeah. I used to live in the Philippines, and I thought there's no way I could wear my hand knits, but the aircon everywhere was so cold that I wore my knitting all the time. Yeah.
We used to think it was so funny, the first year we lived in Bangkok, we thought it was so funny that come winter, these ties were in parkas. And I mean, you're talking about dropping from 114 Fahrenheit to maybe 70 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
But that's a huge drop.
All winter coats, Jana, you would see, like you would wear on your farm in the winter.
Yeah.
Like full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's 0 here.
Right. Yeah.
But see, we're not used to that. And so you would have this, most of the year is 110, 114, something like that, and high humidity.
Mm-hmm.
And then it switches to 70 degrees and high humidity. So you feel just freezing. First year we made fun of them. Second year we had parkas.
Right.
When I moved here for college, my father still makes fun of me. When I moved here for college, by September it was 70.
Yeah.
And I could not handle it. I went to the mall and I bought coats, and my dad still makes fun of me for the plural, like, why do you need coats? But I'm like, it's cold, I'm getting as many coats as I can. This is crazy.
I'm surprised they even had something like that in the stores at that point. But I
think it was
it's like the back to school season. So
yeah. I think it was like it was REI, and so they kind of always have that stuff.
Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you.
I'm sorry that I
be on the podcast. No, it's wonderful.
You're absolutely fine. This is great.
Thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun.